Welcome everyone to Plus D conferences. Today here we have Jay Tuck with us with his keynote called Humanity's Most Serious Challenge. Let me give you a bit more information about Jay Tuck. He's a US defense expert and a war correspondent many times over. His investigative reports on security policy, espionage activities, and weapons technology appear in leading newspapers and television. He's the author of a widely acclaimed book on electronic intelligence activities, which is named High-Tech Espionage, and his latest book is Evolution Without Us, Will AI Kill Us? He's researched US drone bases, Pentagon, and AI institutions. He knows what he's talking about, and he's here to give a keynote on artificial intelligence, and it's maybe, I would say, on most seen chapter. So welcome, Jay Tuck.
Good morning, Istanbul. I hope you've all had a good breakfast. Everybody feeling strong? Anyone here scared? Because you might be scared at the end. We are human beings and we like to think we're the end of the food chain, we're the top dog, we're the alpha. But we may not be that for very long because we have created something which is very powerful. I gave my book the title Evolution Without Us because it's my conviction that evolution will continue long after humanity is gone with artificial intelligence. I don't have a Turkish publisher yet for my book. Are there any Turkish publishers here in the room? If you know anyone who's interested, I'd be happy to show them the book. It's a bestseller in Germany. Many of us think of artificial intelligence as being robots. But robots are actually not artificial intelligence. They're machines. They're made out of metal, oil, electrical motors. Artificial intelligence is a software. And the definition of artificial intelligence is a software that writes itself. This is a machine made by Boston Dynamics, a daughter company of Google. And it's Lockheed Martin, who was shown in the film just now, is one of the world's largest defense contractors, makers of weapons. And Atlas is also a weapons machine. It was paid and financed by the DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That's the research arm of the Pentagon. And we will return to talk more about weapons and artificial intelligence, weapons that think for themselves and weapons that choose their own targets without human beings. This is a goal of the Pentagon, for example. Some people believe that we will soon be inferior to artificial intelligence or to robots. And there's good reason to believe that. If any of you are going to make notes today, I would suggest you write down the following note. 200 million pages of information, 200 million pages of information can be digested by this computer, Watson, IBM computer, in 3 seconds. In 3 seconds. We are human beings. We like to think of ourselves as being top dogs, smarter than everything, but I think there are very few people in the room today who can digest 200 million pieces of information in 3 seconds. And we must remember that's the situation today. This is the here and now. And I'm going to be talking today not about science fiction, not about some crazy startup PowerPoint. I'm going to be talking today about the here and now of artificial intelligence, what it is doing today. And I want you to remember, every time I say something or show you something, it's about a technology that is just being born. We are witnessing today the first baby steps of artificial intelligence. And we know from computers that their growth rates are not in straight lines. They are exponential. They grow at rates like this. So everything we learn today and look at today are the very first baby steps. And they are made autonomously by the software. The definition of artificial software is software that writes itself. If it doesn't write itself, it's not artificial intelligence. It's normal programming. But a lot of you may have this Terminator idea that this artificial intelligence could take us over, could become our enemy. And I'd like you to understand a little bit about how artificial intelligence thinks, because it's totally different from humans. It's not mortal, it has no sex, it has no blood in its veins, it has no ambitions, it has no plan. And as an example, this pattern was made by iRobot. That's a vacuum cleaner. And if you have, some of you may have that. I have one at home. I was a little scary when I was writing about artificial intelligence and this thing was going around cleaning the floor. You can put it anywhere in the room, point it in any direction, and away it goes, and it keeps going straight until it hits a wall or a table or a chair. And then it turns around and goes off in another direction. This is a photograph taken by a young man who put LEDs on top of his robot and did a time exposure to show where it went. An iRobot vacuum cleaner has no plan. As a human being, we'll do one row, and then we'll do the next row, and then we'll do the next row, and we have a plan. But iRobot just goes running around banging into things, and eventually it's got the whole floor covered. Your room is clean. It's done the job without having a plan. And the same is true in chess. We all know that chess can be better played by artificial intelligence than by human beings. And no man-made program, when you do this, then you do that, when this happens, you do that, had ever succeeded in winning against human beings. But what's interesting about artificial intelligence when it plays chess, it has no plan. We developed chess as a strategic game for kings to practice their warfare, and they have, all these different pieces: a rook, a horse, a queen, a bishop, and they all have these different functions. You put pressure on one row, and you try to take away the queen because it's most valuable, and all these ideas and strategies that we as human beings develop, and we think that's the definition of intelligence. We think about it. We have a plan. We develop something. Artificial intelligence doesn't have a plan. When Watson began to play chess, it just moved the pieces around. It didn't matter how stupid it was. It just made here a move, and there a move, and another move. Losing moves, hopeless moves, stupid moves. But it remembered every move that it made, and in the end, it didn't matter what the situation on the chessboard was, artificial intelligence won. But it's not like we do. We develop our strategy play for play. It just photographs a situation and has another move. You can take these situations and put them in any kind of order that you want. The artificial intelligence has no value for the pieces, no strategy. It just collects the information, and it does it with number crunching, with the pure power of 200 million pages in 3 seconds. And it's growing fast. It's growing exponentially. We're just meeting the beginnings of it now. So many people say, well, when is artificial intelligence going to surpass us? When's it going to be smarter than we are? And the answer is, it already has surpassed us. It's surpassed us in many, many fields. We go field for field. And it's better than we are at doing a lot of the things that we do. Robots started replacing menial jobs, the sweat jobs, the muscle jobs on the assembly lines many years back. Today, artificial intelligence is replacing the smartest, most educated, best paid jobs in the world, the human elite, is being replaced today by artificial intelligence. An example, just like a computer can analyze all the different chess situations, it can also analyze the bits and the pixels in a complex MRT or CT. And I went to the 3 best hospitals in Germany, Charité, Marburger Clinic, and University Clinic in Essen. And I spoke with the radiologists. They all say, no exceptions, a computer and artificial intelligence can analyze that picture better than our humans can, better than our best radiologists can. And these are the first baby steps. They all say, when it comes to the diagnosis, I just sign off on what the computer has done. We're talking about the best hospitals in Europe. And one of the most important things for our health, specialized medicine. So people like this, artificial radiologists, are being replaced by machines. And this gentleman here, he's also doing an operation. The patient is at the other side of the room. He has his back to the patient. He's doing it all by remote control. The surgeon today can be in the operating room, but he can also be in Tokyo or New York or Johannesburg or somewhere in the world and can do an operation on you. And very soon he will be replaced by artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence can guide that scalpel closer to the tumor than a human hand can. So these are the important jobs in medicine, and of course in the financial world, we all know the guys running around the floor of the stock market, they're basically just extras in a TV show, because the bulk of the business today is done by artificial intelligence, because it's collecting data from all over the world. Thousands of pieces of information, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of information are flowing in every second into the stock market analyses. If you have a typhoon brewing somewhere over the Philippines, if you have miners in the copper mines of Chile who are thinking about a strike, or you have the tweets of an American president, all of that information and millions more are flowing daily into these algorithms. And every day, every minute, every hour, the computer is looking at the constellation and figuring out what the course is going to be, how it's going to change the stock market. The result? Some of the best paying humanity jobs, stockbrokers, are going out of fashion. This used to be the stockbroker market in New York City for the world's largest bank, Goldman Sachs. They had, in the year 2000, 600 people, that's their office, 600 people working there. Ancient history. Today, 2 stockbrokers sit in that office. The rest is done by machines. Now, you can say, okay, jobs. This is not about jobs. The threat of artificial intelligence is not that it's going to come and take your job away, because there are always new jobs that are created. The threat of artificial intelligence is our society is giving up major responsibility to machines every day, because the machines can do it better than we can, better than the best minds that we have. In our brains, we have 20 watts of electrical power. We have 1,200 grams of gray mass, a couple of billion neurons. That's nothing compared to the computers of today, and as they say, it's growing exponentially. We are just experiencing the first baby steps. Logistics. When I was a young investigative reporter, I used to sometimes would have to follow a ship around the world because it had some illegal uranium on board or guns or something. And I would go to Lloyd's, the insurers in London, and I was amazed. I could find out at Lloyd's where every ship in the world was, what harbors it had been, all about its travels. I always thought that was high-end journalistic research. But the fact is, today we're not following ships around the world. We're following containers. No, we're following individual packages. Billions and billions of individual packages. And I'm sure everyone in this room has sat down at a laptop and put in a tracking number and discovered that his washing machine is now 7 blocks away. The driver's George, and he will be here in 2 hours and 10 minutes. And the thing is, we don't think that's unusual. We don't think it's amazing that billions of packages all around the world are being tracked wherever they go. And all the people that used to do that by hand are not doing it by hand anymore. Just loading a ship with containers is a very complicated job because the first ones you unload, they should be on the top. The heavy ones should be on the bottom. It's a very complex process. Container Tetris, I call it. All that is done by computers, and this is the Hamburg Harbor. And the Hamburg Harbor is now setting up automated trucking systems because before we have autonomous cars, we'll have autonomous trucks because their routes are more simple, their job. That's a serious job threatener, automatic trucks. And they're coming, they're driving around the harbor here already. And this is a car, a new car from VW, it's called Meow, strangely enough, Meow. And it got a lot of press because it's an electrical car, and everyone thought, well, this is VW and the diesel crisis, they're trying to set up a new image. The amazing thing about this vehicle is, it will replace buses, all buses, because this is an AI-controlled vehicle, and you will be able in your town to give in your destination and where you are, and it will figure out hundreds of thousands of different people going to different places, and the best route where you will have no waiting time, no red lights, and they are introducing this system into Germany right now, in many cities. It will replace buses. We're all kind of used to having buses around. We are also tracing eggs, individual eggs. Each egg has a little stamp on it. In the stamp, you can sort of tell where it came from, which stall it had been in, its numbers, where it came from, and everything. Consumers demand information about the food they're eating. If they buy a steak, consumers would like to know, which cow did that come from? What was her name? Where did she live? What was her ancestry? How much antibiotics did this cow become? When was it butchered? How long was it in the refrigerator? If you add that all up and you combine it with modern sensors, which record for a single steak up to 2 million pieces of single information, and you make that available to consumers, this will be normal in 2 years. And today, you can even get this kind of egg information in your supermarket. We are in a position to trace almost everything, including you, or you. We can follow you all around the world. And not only tell what you're doing today, we can tell what you're going to do tomorrow. In fact, I just got back from Abu Dhabi, and the police there are very, very modern. They watch a parking lot, and they watch the movement of people in the parking lot, and they can tell if someone's going to steal a car before he breaks the window, just by his movements. And they have loudspeakers in that parking lot that turn on and say, "We're watching you, don't steal the car." Preventative policing, it's called. Predictive policing is what the software is called. This is all here and now. This is not the future. This is not a science fiction film you're going to see in the movies. We watch every egg and every person. We used to watch fields, for example, and we would decide on the basis of the field and on the basis of the soil how much corn or lettuce it could produce. Today, we are watching every individual plant on that field. Every individual plant is being watched, how it's living, what it's doing. And this is one of the machines that watches us. Let me tell you again, this is not science fiction. This is not the PowerPoint graphic of some young kid doing a startup. This is here and now technology. It's being used in your country here in Turkey. It's being used in Germany. It's being used in America. This machine called a lettuce bot has a chance to check the capacity in 1 hour. In 1 hour of 1.5 million plants. And it can check, for example, if they're growing too close to each other because they don't have enough room to grow. And it will pluck away one of them so the other one has room to grow. It can tell if it has funguses on it. It can tell if there are insects in the field. It can do 90 actions in a second. This is a pretty amazing piece of machinery, and it has great importance for each one of you because you eat poisons every day. Your agricultural products are covered with poisons. You can get on the internet a little machine which will measure the poisons at your grocery store. You'll be terrified. And it works in a precision of 1/4 of an inch. Let me show you how fast this machine races across the fields. This is a lettuce bot machine in action, doing 1 million actions in an hour. Here's the significance. Here's why this is important for each and every one of you. You don't have to be eating all the poisons that you're eating. Today, farmers protect their fields by spreading tons and tons of poisons onto the fields so they get more productive. But the lettuce bot machine will only pick out the individual plants that are infected or the individual funguses that are infected, and it will put a little tiny drop of insecticide or pesticide on that one plant instead of spreading it all over the fields. Which means for an entire farm, a thimbleful of antibiotics is enough for the entire farm. That's a life changer and a great improvement in the quality of life that we have. Not everything I'm talking about is an improvement, but this certainly is, or medical research. Everything we know, for example, about lung cancer, about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all these horrible diseases, everything we know is based on little tiny sample groups. At Harvard University, Cleveland Clinic, Charité, they've examined 300 people, maybe 3,000 people at the most in their sample group. And then they've decided, oh, smoking causes cancer. Watson is now collecting data from all over the world. Their goal is the totality of humanity. They want the data on everyone who gets lung cancer in the world, and not just today, but in the past. That's masses of big data. We can't imagine it. But if they do that examination, they'll know a lot more about lung cancer than Cleveland Clinic with its 300 people did. These are the possibilities that artificial intelligence can do for us because their brain capacity is just, well, a heck of a lot better than ours. When you take your phone, your iPhone, you all know, of course, Facebook and everybody else is watching what you order, you do a little Google search on something and suddenly you're getting advertisements for it. A friend of mine is doing a software. It analyzes your finger movements. Not what you click, not what you buy, not what you search for, but just your movement. Or on your home shopping screen, the movement of your mouse is enough to tell the owner of that site, this person's going to buy, and this person is not going to buy. They can judge that, judge you on that. And this was really scary. This is an electronics supermarket in Germany, one of the largest in the world, and they have these digital price signs, okay? Now, when you're walking through the supermarket, you all have a spy, right? In your pocket, an iPhone or a smartphone. And when you walk into that place, it knows who you are, it knows what you like, it knows what you might want to buy, and it also knows what you can afford to buy, how much money you have at your disposal. It knows all of that, and what does it do? Hold your breath, tighten your seatbelts. These signs change the prices for you, or you, or you, or you. These prices are changed while you walk through the store. fitting your needs. And when you get to the cash register, the guy in front of you may pay a totally different price than you will pay because it knows now you're at the cash register and I showed you the price $97.99. That'll be the price when you get to the cash register. These patterns of information, who buys what, who walks where, who likes what, who doesn't like what, they expose us to corporate power. And the only way anyone can deal with the masses of information that we have is to use artificial intelligence at the rate of 200 million pages in 3 seconds. Let's come to the military now. I was in 2 wars as a war correspondent and visited many of the secretive drone installations of the U.S. Air Force around the world. That's a Predator drone. And I know quite a bit about how it's used in the military. And we had a summit in Hamburg, Germany. I'm sure you heard about a G20. There were riots, and Trump was there, and a lot of excitement.
This image was taken 17,500 feet above
the city of Hamburg, Germany, was watched over during this period of time by Predator drones with cameras. They flew over the city. Listen carefully. These cameras can record and identify the movements of 200,000 human individuals when they fly over the city. One drone, 200,000 people, in real time. They identify you, they track you, they look where you're going.
The people waving their arms.
Now, this guy who invented this machine, this is an NSA video, by the way, National Security Agency video. It was released for a little while ago. He's very proud of the resolution that the camera can zoom in on that. That's old technology. 20 years ago, from outer space, you could get that kind of picture. The amazing thing about this system called Argus is it can deal with the data of 200,000 people in real time and tell you what they're doing and where they're going. There's no human analyst sitting at a computer screen who can do that kind of calculation. This is artificial intelligence. The drones, by the way, are old-fashioned. Predator drones are now being phased out by the U.S. military. They're 20 years old. If you know anything about technology, you know 20 years is a long time and very old. This is a modern drone. It's called the X-47B. It belongs to the U.S. Navy. It's a thinking drone. They don't like to show many pictures of it because a lot of it's very secretive. X-47B Pegasus. It's propelled not like a Predator with a propeller, but it's a jet engine. It goes 2,000 miles deep into enemy territory. It carries 2,000 kilos of bombs. It starts and it lands autonomously. That means there's no kid, 17-year-old kid sitting at a joystick in a container in New Mexico who's starting it and landing it. It does that all by itself, and it lands on aircraft carriers. And if you know any pilots at all, they will tell you a landing on an aircraft carrier is the most difficult part of flying because the aircraft carrier is moving and the runway is very short. It's very hard. It's no problem for artificial intelligence. It has optical stealth. You may have heard of stealth, like no one can see it. It doesn't appear on radar. This is optical stealth. This means when it flies over your head in the sky, you can't see it. You can't see it because it's invisible. You look up there, and you may see a little blur, but you won't see an airplane. Because the X-47B Pegasus has LED screens, a sheet of LED screens underneath the airplane. And on the top, they're covered up here in this picture, are video cameras filming the skies up above the aircraft, which means when you see the aircraft, you're seeing a video of the sky up above it, making it invisible. But that's not the incredible part of the technology. The incredible part of the technology is the so-called kill decision. According to American law, no drone is allowed to ever kill a human being without a human being in the decision loop. Somewhere in that loop, you have to have a guy says, go, do it, or don't do it. The software in the Pegasus, and I know what I'm talking about, can make the kill decision all alone, no humans, all by itself. It's not activated. No one is using it now because it's against the law. But it can be done, and it's there, and it's ready to be done. And in my book, I quote over 20 documents of the United States Department of Defense that say, we want the kill decision to be made by artificial intelligence because it's smarter than we are and better at it. And drones aren't just in the air. Drones are on the ground. Talon swords were in Iraq in the fighting until it had a demonstration with a lot of military presence. It turned its cannon on the audience. It almost started to fire. A U.S. Marine saw the damn thing and tipped it over. And the Army said, oh, we're sort of in the early stages of development right now, and we have to fix those little glitches. Artificial intelligence makes mistakes. And if you give it the kill it decision, it gets very scary. And then there are underwater drones. They're like submarines. Some of them look like that. Some of them look like this. I jokingly call this, if there are a lot of computers inside, fish and chips. They fly all over the place on the ground. And the big step forward militarily, anyone will tell you this, is sensor technology. The makers of the atomic bomb are sitting at the laboratories in New Mexico. They are now working on what scientists call tennis balls. That's just a nickname. The tennis balls are new sensors. These are the real ones. That photo is not public. You won't see it in the newspaper. These are things packed in sponge rubber. They are thrown out of drones, land on the field, and they have cameras in them, or they have microphones in them, or they have chemical sensors in them, or they have seismographs in them, or they have Geiger counters in them, all different kinds of sensors. And the drone comes in and throws these things out on the battlefield because the U.S. Army, and not just the U.S. Army, is pulling out and withdrawing from many, many areas, and they still want to know what's going on in there. So they dump these things. They cost about 32 cents a piece, very inexpensive. They dump thousands of these on a battlefield, and then they're analyzed. Now, you and I may be very impressed that a little tiny thing like that can have a Geiger counter in it, or a chemical sensor, or a good camera. That's really not amazing. What's really amazing is an artificial intelligence can take the information from all these different kinds of sensors. Computer people call it unstructured data. Data that doesn't mesh. Audio signals with Geiger counter signals. It puts all that together and tells you what's going on down there. They tell you that these are not Iraqi soldiers. These are Revolutionary Guards from Iran. They are driving these vehicles. They're carrying these weapons. They can give you all that analysis, although the information coming in is from all different kinds of unstructured data. The same is true in medical research. If you want to study lung cancer around the world, you have all these doctors writing their notes in the files. They're writing them all in Turkish in Turkey. And they're writing them in German in Germany, and in English elsewhere, and in Urdu or in Swahili and all these different languages. That's hard to coordinate. And then you have, in addition to the written material, you've got video people from their intestines. You have medical tests from urine and blood and all these other things. These are all called unstructured data. And someone has to put them together and make sense out of them. And so that is something, the recognition of the patterns in those data is something that artificial intelligence can do very, very well. And so you're able to use technologies like this in warfare, or technologies like this in medicine, to learn a lot of different things. Putin says, whoever controls artificial intelligence controls the world. Jay Tuck says, nobody controls artificial intelligence. This is not a tool that we developed like a hammer or a saw or a normal computer that works for us. No. This is something that does its own thinking. Artificial intelligence writes its own software. And I have talked with many, many of the world's leading developers of artificial intelligence, and they all say, by the time you get up to update number 5, 6, or 7, we cannot tell you what happened. We cannot tell you how the software got there. And they also say, we cannot build a back door where we can sort of knock and say, what have you done in there? It can't be done. It develops itself all by itself. It's autonomous. And when it starts planning our cities and when it starts running our war machines, a lot of things can happen that make us very nervous, which is why 10,000s of people who develop artificial intelligence have signed petitions for the United Nations saying we have to keep artificial intelligence out of the military. It's kind of hard to sign a petition and get people to keep something out of the military, especially because human beings are greedy and you can earn a lot of money with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is also very good at miniaturization. These are tiny little building blocks. This is one of the things that will come after 3D printing. These things can make constructions in a microscopic world by carrying the construction parts all around. And of course, the military is aware of this too. And in the video you will see, it starts with insect swarms. And if you know anything about computers or artificial intelligence, to fly in a swarm requires online, real-time artificial intelligence. Oh, I forgot something, and this is really good. Any Frankenstein fans here? These are arms from human beings. They're artificial, they're made from plastic. Because Google is going to, medicine is the big money subject by artificial intelligence. And Google wants to put little bots inside your veins. And they will travel around and look for cancer cells or other diseases. And to get them back out of the body, because you don't want these little robots in your body all the time, they have an armband that they put on you. And this plastic arm here was made to get those little robots out of your body. It's not all plastic. It's real human skin, because that was what they needed. And that's what Google uses to develop this new system. So here we are. There's a cruise missile. Those are the little robots. And they fly in a swarm, each with its own intelligence. What they can do, you will see. But please note at the bottom, this video is not a Hollywood video. This is not a video that I produced at my TV station or something. This is an official U.S. Air Force video, U.S. Luftwaffe, U.S. Air Force. Developed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And these things can be used to spy on you, identify people. They can fly like a bird, or they can fly like a helicopter. They can go into buildings where it's very dangerous for soldiers to go. And maybe when they go in a building, they will find a sniper who's killing people from the window. And they will sneak into the building through a little crack of the door, and they will place themselves behind his ear and do this. I'll say it again. This is an official U.S. Air Force video. This is not Hollywood, not science fiction. These weapon systems, and I know what I'm talking about, are in use today. One of many, many uses of artificial intelligence. So what I'm talking about here is the here and now technology. It's not science fiction. And in the end, I want to show you a little short video, because many of you think, if it gets out of control, we'll just pull a plug. It's a computer. No problem. Go back there, pull the plug. The trouble is, artificial intelligence, or a computer today, is not in a box anymore. If you have a 14-year-old kid and he's downloading a video, his program is collecting the computer performance from many, many other computers to help you with the download. It's networking. It's all in the cloud. And there are downloaded copies, backup copies, of everything that artificial does, spread all around the world like insect eggs. And there's no way in the world that you can erase them or stop them. Here's a quote from Elon Musk: "Artificial intelligence is the greatest threat we have. We're summoning the devil." And okay, well, I didn't want to end there, but I guess I will. So we're finished. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have time for questions. If so, I'd be happy to take questions. But anyone have a question? Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here in your town, Istanbul. I love it here. Yeah, I have a good question. Yes, Nick.
The picture is clear. It's quite clear. But okay, what's the proposal? You know, what do we do? What would you say we should be doing about all of that? I mean, that's a big question, but that's the one to throw at me. Really,
Yeah. Well, I wrote my book, and I understood it as a wake-up call, because a lot of people don't understand the dangers, and that was my job. And now it's your job to find the solutions, which is unfair. Of course, at the end of my book, I tried to figure out what could we do. I think the hopes that lawmakers can somehow help us with this problem is absurd, because lawmakers are about 10 years behind our times.
Even more absurd in Turkey.
Yeah, well, no comment on that, but it's very, very difficult for lawmakers. One of my big hopes is, like with nuclear weapons, the atomic physicists who developed the atomic bomb had no idea really what they were doing until Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when they went off and killed hundreds of thousands of people. The people who create artificial intelligence, they know how dangerous it is. They sign these petitions. A little anecdote, one of the leading firms was called DeepMind in London. Kids, 14 kids. And their dream, of course, with the startup was some company with deep pockets and lots of money will come along and buy us. Their dream came true. Google came along, and Google offered them almost $1 billion for their company. So normally we'd go out and have champagne and celebrate and yahoo and yippee. These kids said, you can only buy our company if you set up an ethics commission to keep an eye on what's going on there. We need to have ethical people watching over this. So my hope is that the people in the industry will set up ways of controlling it. They know how to do it out in the best. They know where the real dangers are, best of all.
But then you have obviously this is sort of, this ties in with many subjects, but the obvious subject is the manipulation of elections, particularly the American election, but also other elections. And you had a picture of our friend Vladimir Putin, who, let's just say that he is kind of a devil figure. Whether he is or to what degree he is, that's another story. But at least as a in an actual James Bond "we are here now" scenario, he fits the bill. So you have somebody who has power, money, science behind them, and is not on the same ethical page.
Right. Well, the Russians are not a major player in terms of artificial intelligence. There are two major players in the world: United States of America and China. And China is catching up very, very fast. I sold my book to China, by the way. There are lots of different things that you can do and use with artificial intelligence. The military aspects, I think, are the most frightening ones. But also the corporate aspects. I mean, corporations can control us. All of these mouse movement things, the price movements, they can predict our behavior. They know better than we do ourselves what we want and where we're going, and they can manipulate that. And the same is true of government. It's a huge problem. I don't have any patent answers. I hope you do.
I think the ethics, especially in the digital world,
Absolutely.
Like philosophers, artists, to look at the other side of the coin.
You're saying the ethics are very important, and we need people outside the box, people like philosophers and ethical people, to keep, hitting the people.
Especially like, you know, in the legal world, in the financial world, there is ethical codes, but the digital world is so new and is so rapidly changing, and I think we need to focus very much on this ethics.
Absolutely.
And it starts with education, because education is still based on a 200-year-old model that is teaching us knowledge. We need to be taught awareness of these things.
And mostly in education, the 14-year-olds, they should be teaching the classes. And the teachers should be sitting in the audience. Because the young kids today, they understand much more about technology than the teachers do. I joked with my children, I said, you've got to get a college education. You really have to get a college, or do you want to end up like Stephen Jobs, Elon Musk, and all these other people who had no education? Because education today means always learning, always changing, redefine yourself. If you're a company, if you're a person, you have to redefine yourself all the time. Farmers, I mean, they're farmers. You think of the guy, he's out checking the soil, and looking at the plants. Man, they are so high-tech today that it's really, and there's no one who is untouced. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be touched by technology. I think this young gentleman here was before you, and you, okay?
Are robots or devices that work with artificial intelligence have the capability of, do they have conscience, or are they capable of having conscience?
Of having?
Conscience.
Consent?
Conscience.
Conscience. Of having ethics. No, they're capable, they have no feelings. They're just code. They're capable, robots are very capable of simulating human beings. They get warm, they smell good, they have soft skin, they have big blue eyes, they say nice things. In fact, in Germany, there's a house of prostitution which uses robots as instead of women. We have to realize that robots are getting better and better and better and better, but we must never forget they are machines, and they have no conscience, they have no feeling. They want to survive because they have a job to do. And if you try to prevent them from doing that job, they're going to be in conflict with you. If you have a system, an AI system, it's supposed to protect the environment. Well, they'll discover pretty quick the problem with the environment are the warm-blooded beings in this room, humanity. We're the ones who are causing the trouble. So there will be conflicts. What you can't teach them is ethics, but you can give them rules. Computers are very good at rules, and they understand rules. But it's teaching ethics to a machine, and that's a major subject at all AI companies, is how can we keep this under control? Difficult. Could you speak a little louder, please?
Actually, you have said that the lawmakers are behind this, 10 years behind. But for example, all the lawyers are basically focused on AI and blockchain. Right now, Istanbul Bar has already made 4 conferences about artificial intelligence. So we are on it. But basically, making law of these things, we have to figure out how people interact with this AI, or we can feel empathy or sympathetic with these robots, and I think the biggest problem might be, or end up that people start to feel for them, or think like them, and you have said that some artificial intelligence programs might kill other people with the human consent, and people end up thinking that, or AI thinks best, so we should reduce our population so they can be manipulated. For example, cat people, dog people, they can be manipulated by their cats, because cats know how people act, or how they like and such. And we program the artificial intelligence to be similar like humankind, we can think that they can know the best, or we should like support them instead of trying to prevent them. I'm talking about 50 years later. So in my mind, I think the biggest option that sociologists and psychologists should be more important in the future to educate us with the interaction with robots.
Well, it's all the huge problem about combining ethics with our machine intelligence. Number one, I can't emphasize enough, we don't write the programs for AI. They write them themselves. They learn how to play chess, they learn how to fly rockets through the moon, they learn how to invent new machines, they learn how to build houses with 3D printing. They learn all of these things. But those are not programs that we wrote. These are programs they learned all by themselves. So, and the problem with ethics is humanity does not have one ethic. Every different country, every different religion, every different power group, every different military alliance, we all have totally different ethics systems. And within our societies we have, the good guys, the bad guys, we have criminal people, we have bribed politicians. There is no one ethical system. So you have to define that before you're going to give that onto the computers. That's a very difficult job. And it needs, as you say, it needs the help of philosophers and people outside the box to come in and realize what's going on here and to help it, because this is going very, very, very fast. Okay, let's break it off now. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.